Hello and welcome back. My name is V and today we're going to watch a video by Level 7 Sloth, and it is the video about easy content in World of Warcraft versus Final Fantasy XIV. And honestly, this video interests me for plenty of reasons, but one of them is the whole discussion that's currently, but it's been going on in the Final Fantasy community for years now, as in people claiming that pretty much all of the content is easy. And I just kind of have to disagree as someone who does have like a little bit of anxiety, I guess, when it comes to learning new things in an MMORPG. Um, Sometimes it's very hard for me to get myself into new content. Let's say, I don't know, whether it's crafting or I don't know, the whole system of fishing or designing houses or even things like savage raids or whatever. I think that each piece of content, at least in Final Fantasy XIV, can be made easy or hard. I think you have the potential, unless you're doing it, an ultimate or whatever. I think there's a potential for every single piece of content to be made easy for you. And you might be wondering like how I'm justifying like the existence of like savage raids or whatever. It's like I'm not saying it's the right way, but there are these groups or whatever who do carries for their friends, and at some point, even if you don't know that much, I suppose you could make a group and say, please help me get a clear, or get a friend to help you with their FC, or by making a group with like a kill for a friend or whatever, where people who know the fight will help you out. Like, you're not necessarily going to have a difficult time in Final Fantasy XIV no matter what you do, if you choose to do it the easy way. But if you choose to do it the right way, like if you choose to actually learn things, whether it's crafting or savage raiding or anything else, not counting the ultimates, because I do believe and I stand by the ultimate raids actually being very difficult, without a doubt, and there not being a shortcut. I'm not going to talk about the recent drama with like third party tools or whatever, because that's not playing the game. That is just doing something that's not even meant to be the design experience, so I don't even want to discuss it. But when it comes to World of Warcraft, I think that the options for what you can do in game are very limited. That, like, if you're not playing, the hard content being, I don't know, maybe arenas like in PvP, or I guess heroic and mythic raiding, or I don't know, mythic plus dungeons at a very high level, you're considered a casual player, and there is not that much viable content for casual players. The world is not, in my opinion at least, as theme park oriented as Final Fantasy XIV world is. Even some casual content in Final Fantasy XIV, like for example Gold Saucer, can be made difficult if you choose to, I don't know, to farm millions and millions of MGP to get a reward or whatever. Like, there are strategies for everything. Everything can be hard and everything can be easy. Again, except for probably the ultimate raids, I guess. If you have another thing that you think is just always difficult or always easy, let me know in the comments. I would love to hear about that. But yeah, we're gonna watch this video, and if you happen to be new to the channel, if you enjoy Final Fantasy XIV or MMORPGs in general, as I've recently diverged into the broader MMORPG territory as well, make sure to subscribe. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's watch the video.
In a recent video, I mentioned I feel way more satisfaction doing high-level content in Final Fantasy XIV
Ah,
than in WoW.
oh
But I
god.
also realized I feel the same way in the easy content. And I think that's an important distinction, because way more people are going to experience the easy content. And sometimes easy content is what I want.
Okay.
I know when I'm
Oh.
super stressed from real life stuff like work, I want my gaming to be pretty chill and relaxing.
I mean, this is something that I've been advocating, and yes, there are plenty of people out there on the internet who like to think that I say these things because I'm a girl. Honestly, I find that very offensive because I think I can be quite good at the things that I dedicate myself to, and I don't like these gender stereotypes. But yes, there are some not very nice people out there. I'm just using the nicest possible word to not get myself, just banned or demonetized or whatever. But there are people who advocate that, the only real gamers are the ones who play games on like hard difficulty or whatever. You know what? Like, I'm a mom. I have so many things to do during the day. I have my own business. I try to be, a good partner, a good friend, all these things. And like sometimes at the end of the day, at the cost of my chat, just kind of thinking that my playthrough is not, I don't know, valid enough or whatever, I will play the games on easy mode because I just want to have fun. Like, even if you're a streamer or a content creator, you are allowed to do easier content on your stream because you're also human, because your stream doesn't necessarily have to be about hard content. Not all the streams are being watched because the content is hard and because someone is just sitting there waiting for you to perform or not perform so that they can get some sort of like weird satisfaction from it or whatever. But overall, I think that even in MMORPGs, doing easy content is fine. And in some games, it's more encouraged than the other ones. For example, in Final Fantasy XIV, there are plenty of ways to do, the easy content, and that's considered, a form of endgame, which is not really the case in World of Warcraft, in my opinion, at least.
So some kind of mindless grind or face roll dungeons can be really nice to chill out and just press some buttons. First, what I mean by easy content is content that's meant to be beaten.
Okay.
Normal dungeons, story scenarios, LFR in WoW, Alliance raids in 14. You might wipe once or twice when it's brand new, but it's not made to be a huge obstacle. It's made to be beaten. What I noticed while leveling
Well, everything's made to be
characters in
beaten.
Dragonflight was I found no fun in the normal dungeons. I had fun doing them with friends, but that's because my friends were fun, not because of the dungeon. And then I went to do my expert roulettes in Final Fantasy XIV, which is just a random current dungeon, and had a great time, even though I've done dozens of them. Hell, sometimes I'll do an expert roulette when I'm already capped on my weekly tomestones, just because I feel like it.
I would never do that.
So I started wondering, what's the difference? Why does the easy content in 14 give me that feeling of satisfaction, while normal dungeons...
Like, I'll be honest. Maybe I'm just biased because I'm currently playing FF14 and not WoW. I just think that Final Fantasy XIV dungeons are a little more fun and there's less pressure. Like, I've gotten kicked out of, many dungeons in World of Warcraft for just entering the party and them asking me what kind of DPS druid I am, as I main a feral druid, or assuming that I'm a boomkin by default and basically just getting kicked out of the group. Even in lower tier, like easier content, like, I don't know, heroic or mythic zeros or mythic plus 1, 2, 3s or whatever, because I'm not a boomkin because I'm a feral druid. It's like, I don't know, it's like these things that build up over time that create a huge amount of resentment, and these things are not the norm in Final Fantasy XIV. I've never heard of anyone being kicked from a dungeon because of like a job that they play or something like that. It just doesn't happen. And overall, I have way less, I guess, PTSD when it comes to dungeoneering in Final Fantasy XIV.
Dungeons in WoW caused me to watch my other monitor. The answer I came up with is, even though both are meant to be beaten, Final Fantasy XIV's mechanics are clearly pass or fail. I understand exactly how to do the bosses correctly, and it feels good to do them.
Yeah, it does.
If I fail mechanics, I know, because I get a Vuln stack, and I'll be punished if I do that multiple times.
And the more The more you play the game, the more you rely on that knowledge about like vol stacks. I didn't used to think that they were important, but now I see them as like direct feedback on like whether or not I'm paying attention that day, and that kind of knowledge is actually very valuable for me.
And in WoW, the easy content just isn't dangerous at all to the point
Yeah.
where I don't know if I'm doing anything correctly or not. It's hard to tell how to exactly do bosses until you start doing Mythic Plus. While leveling my first character in Dragonflight, I sometimes killed bosses without realizing they were bosses.
Uh,
To be clear, I'm not saying that easy content should be hard. That defeats the point. What I'm saying is that even easy content should be satisfying to do correctly.
yeah.
Here's an example.
And not through shame, not through um doing content and then feeling good about other people not telling you that you suck on that particular day, but just like your own, I don't know, having your own perception and your own knowledge on how you're doing, and that being enough to either please you or displease you is enough.
Here's a boss in Final Fantasy XIV that shoots lasers from the sides. All you gotta do is look to see where the double lasers are pointing and stand to the side of that. Super easy mechanic that is obvious after the first time you see it and feels super satisfying to do every time I run this place.
Yeah.
Every boss in recent years in Final Fantasy XIV has multiple mechanics like this. Now,
But they feel unique.
let's look at a normal boss in WoW.
Sacrificed themselves so that I could return these eggs to their natural state. You will not interfere!
I haven't actually seen this boss, so I don't know if. Well, yeah, there's like AoEs on the ground.
I am sorry.
There's
I need your strength, little one!
what are these rays? Okay, so she invites these as you do an AoE. Okay, okay. This I don't know if this was like intentional, but he did really pick a boring boss.
Show you the truth!
Okay, she invites more whelps. Okay,
Was that a
you kill the
boss or
ads.
was that trash? It felt nice AoEing the ads, but I mean, it's just not very satisfying overall.
Okay,
I don't feel anything from that.
yeah,
Again,
it's a bit
I want to
underwhelming.
emphasize I'm not saying that the answer is to make things harder. I'm specifically talking about intentionally easy content here. My point is that
It's not
more
really
difficulty
doesn't really have
doesn't mean more
mechanics.
fun,
Yeah.
and the inverse of that is easiness doesn't have to be boring.
Yeah.
In Final Fantasy XIV, I get a good similar feeling of satisfaction from doing boss mechanics correctly, regardless of
Yeah.
if it's in normal story mode or savage difficulty. In WoW, I couldn't tell you half of what bosses do, and that doesn't feel good.
Yeah. Because the game doesn't really make you feel like you have to know. Yeah, that's a kind of dramatic end to the video, but he makes a good point. He makes definitely a good point. For some reason, it's very hard to describe and just understand at all why these easy pieces of content in Final Fantasy XIV feel better to do, and why performing these mechanics is more satisfying. Maybe it's like I think it runs a lot deeper than just what happens in the dungeon, and I think it's the overall pace of the content, because in WoW it's very there has been like, okay, like I'm not currently playing Dragonflight, so I don't really know, but like historically there's been so many um instances where you have to like race with basically yourself and time and other members of your guild to make sure that you're geared, that all your chores are done, so that you can, like, I don't know, go and raid or whatever. You don't really have the time to just like stop and do anything else, whether it's easy or hard, and actually get satisfaction from it, because you're always out there chasing something, you're always out there grinding something, you're always out there trying to improve your gear or get this or get that. And normally when you're trying to get things, they're not really going to be getting it out of like the easiest possible content. Normally you're going to be doing like mythic pluses or whatever, and once the expansion hype, like once the expansion or the patch first lands and everybody stops doing these, I don't know, not everybody, but like most people stop doing like normals or heroics or whatever, unless they're on alts that they're gearing up. um I guess that thrill of like exploring bosses and whatnot is lost, and there's no like recycled content that is easy content. They're now recycling dungeons and putting them into the Mythic Plus mode, which is again doing the hard content. Like what they need is they need this kind of like dungeon roulette where you will be synced appropriately. You can have good gear, but at the same time, like you should be synced to older type of content that isn't just, I don't know, that isn't just a face roll for you to run through and like get a mount or whatever. I don't know. Like it's just, I have a lot of thoughts on this, and I feel like I could make like 10 separate videos just talking about this, but like this video pretty much prove the point that Final Fantasy XIV does a better job at making you feel better about content, not just difficult content. And I really like the video. I can see why it's getting so much attention. And again, if you haven't subscribed to Level 7 Sloth on YouTube, make sure to do that. I've actually subscribed to all of these channels on my main channel, which is where I watch YouTube. I never subscribe to anyone here. Like I always say, I always like mention people and try to, like, I don't know, just make sure to say that you should be subbing to them. And I look like I've never subbed, but I do have multiple channels and I only sub on one. So yes, I definitely am interested in what Level 7 Block will bring to us. This seems to be a recent video. It's from a month ago. So I'm sure they'll be back after getting 47,000 views on a video that was published a month ago, and I hope their channel ends up growing because they make good content. And yeah, that's gonna be it for today. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to sub here if you enjoy Final Fantasy or other MMORPGs, maybe even including World of Warcraft, because I'm sure that at some point I will be playing through Dragonflight, at least for the story, because I haven't done that yet. And yeah, without further ado, I'm gonna go, and you have a nice day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!